agency to serve as a moral compass for your department.
Amazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and government. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Amazonians, watch Ethics for an Emerging Amazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amber time.
Exclusively on ABC Amber TV. Stay tuned.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ABC Amber TV. This is your favorite program, Ethics Commission for a Developing Nation. And tonight we have the Ethics for the Department of Women Services. And with this, we are going to go ahead and come on with the what is actually needed for now. And so we are expecting that you are there and ready as we bring in the people and the Department of Women that is involved and in charge of our ethics for today. Well, in the next few seconds, you will be receiving these beautiful Amazonians who have sold themselves for the program that we are having right now. And so, for now, let's go. Amazonians who have sold themselves that we are having. All right. Like I said, welcome to the program. We want to welcome Ma Rachel. We want to welcome Ma Rachel. We want to welcome Ma Patience into this very important and one of the aspects that has beaten every other revolution that has ever taken place in the world in the terms of ethics being set up in our revolution during war. No nation has ever had this kind of a program. And so, Ma Rachel, welcome to Ethics Commission Ethics for an Emerging Nation. Can you just say a word to the people of Amazonia before we go on?
Thank you, our able Pastor Commando. Thank you for having us here at at, at this on this program. I'm just so
The
overwhelmed
door is open now.
that
The door is open.
finally the turn of the Women's Department in the Federal Republic of Amazonia has arrived to share this wonderful platform on ethics for an emerging nation. I greet every Amazonian out there, all over the world, from Africa ground to all over the west coast of Africa, those in Asia, in the Middle East, in Europe, in the Americas. I am just pleased to be here as a woman that we could really see and listen what the women would be in Amazonia, what could contribute, and how much their presence will make Amazonia that we are presently fighting to put in place, what impact they will create in the 55th nation of the world. Thank you, Pastor Commando, for having me. Thank you, the team in the Ethics Commission, for having this wonderful program, and ABC technical crew. Thank you for making it possible as well. I hope to share a wonderful evening with you all. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you very much, Mappy. Is that no? That's Marichelle. All right. I
Marriage.
got confused with the two of you.
No,
Because I
why?
mean, yeah. But I know your faces, but I got confused with your names, and I think ethics should no ethics will not discipline me because I'm learning now, right now. Okay. So over to you, Marichelle, and say hello to the people of Amazonia who are waiting to
Over to
hear
you, to
you.
my patients.
Okay,
You
so now
know,
No,
it's
half of
over to you, more patience.
Marichelle. Who is
over
Marichelle?
to my patients. I have spent my half of my years also answering the name patience. People call Rachel patience, Rachel. Some will just it's not only you, Pastor, since from school days, it's always been like
Oh,
that. So
oh,
but
okay,
now
good.
it's
So the
my
confusion is
patience,
from the
my
beginning.
Rachel spoke.
That's fine. All right.
Yes.
I'm comforted.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ma-
all right. This is my patience now speaking. I just want to appreciate being on this program, Ethics for an Emerging Nation. Uh, uh, it is a great program because when we get to Boya, as the chair of the Ethics Commission has said in one of our outings, the difference between what will make us a great nation and what the current La Republic is ethics. So we need to begin the training process right now. And I want to use this particular moment to appreciate everyone on the home front, ground one, and all over the diaspora watching to us. Hopefully, those in home front will learn something, one or two, as we journey along to Boya, and also this department, the women's department. Um, has to also be ready to implement ethical disciplines so that we grow as a powerful nation, knowing that women are the backbone of every thriving state or nation. Thank you for having us here, Dr. Pastor Commando.
Thank you very much, ladies, for coming in. Remember, today we are actually talking on laying the foundation for an emerging ethical department of women and social services. Over the months, we have been dealing with the LGAs and counties, and the last county we dealt with a few. Was it a few? Yeah, last week. Last week, to be precise. Last week was um, uh, yeah, Friday. But last week Friday during our program we had the Bui County. The Bui County came in and actually spoke in line with other counties that have been coming in. And I perceive that they have not been copying rights. They are talking directly and exactly what they have been doing. But today, we have the Women's and Social Services Department, of which we want to lay the foundation in our interim government. Before we go ahead, thank you. You've greeted the people of the people of Ambazonia, and I've just told you that last week we had Bui and other counties that came in, and they absolutely spoke what I believe is embedded in an average true Ambazonian, and which is the virtues of ethics. That is morality. Now, when we talk of this moral aspect, we are talking about people who are honest, people who are sincere, people who will want to follow that which is truthful and that can be proven, not just people who are manipulated or go by propaganda or go by, it is said that when you are telling a lie, it's very sweet. Not people who want to go with those kind of things. And that's what ethics is actually out to establish. That you should not just go and follow a thing because a number of people are following it, but you should follow something that has been established, which is meant for the good of everybody. And now, today, we are on the ethical foundation that is to be laid, or is being laid, in the department of which you are heading, the Department of Women and Social Services. Now, before we get into that and I ask you a few questions, I just want to make this announcement that next week, Friday the 22nd, is going to be Boyo, because we skipped some counties because they were not ready, and we brought your department in to buttress and to go ahead with the ethical talks. So we should not leave the weeks unattended to. Now, I have a monologue that I want to share here with us before we get into this, the crux of the whole matter, with the two of you who are present here to represent your department. Ambazonia Liberation Movement is very unique, like I first started saying, compared to other revolutions in the entire world. And their uniqueness is because of the establishment of the institution of Ethics Commission during a time of war. During war, people think that things should be done haphazard and just rush. You can kill your brother and your sister, they say it is war. No. In our revolution, we are systematic and we are practical. And so our fathers had the foresight of the uphill battle we face today to repair the destroyed moral fabric of Ambazonia. Now, what holds a nation together is its moral values. When people are not morally upright, whatever you do, it's not going to stand. But the moral values hold that nation together. Now, La Republic's invasion and occupation of Ambazonia has taken a moral toll on Ambazonia, making moralizing Ambazonia again a task that we all must join together to make it work. Now, we must fight to win in this battle of moralizing our situation, our nation, and our government. The assault on our morality began when La Republic took out civics from our school curriculum. The importance of ethics in a nation cannot be emphasized enough. This is the right time for ethics awareness and campaigns in all tiers of government and communities in the Federal Republic of Ambazonia to be carried out. It was Edmund, Edmund Burke, who said, "Liberty does not exist in the absence of morality." And that's what we are singing. When you are not ethically upright, you cannot exercise anything that is liberty. Ethics for an Emerging Nation is an educational program to help you with the information and tools you need to moralize your communities and governments. We have discussed topics like template forms for complaints. That is, if you have a complaint, there is a form, there's a template you have to use. We have discussed conflict resolutions, appeals, and we have also financial conflict of interest and disclosure forms. All these things, we are preparing them for our nation, and we don't want to wait until we get in there. Now, topics like ethical leadership and its importance has been discussed elaborately. We have also discussed guidelines for receiving and giving gifts by government employees or to government employees. Misuse of positions has been one of the topics that we have used. The role of the people in upholding ethical standards in the nation, we have talked about that. Now, we've also talked about the role of the church in moralizing the society. We also went ahead to talk about a standard code of conduct for Ambazonians. And of course, we've discussed business ethics, media ethics, sports, cultural ethics, medical, public health ethics. Ambazonians, we encourage you to watch these programs again on ABC Amber TV Facebook page and of course on the YouTube, and use the information to moralize your communities and governments. If by next year our sovereignty is not yet in our hands, we might call you to come in here and update your departments and your counties on the campaign awareness that is going on right now. Now, we are not fully done with the ethics awareness for other counties, as it is written here, but we've started with the Department of Women Services. After this, we were supposed to go to education, but because Boyo was not actually handled, we'll go to Boyo next week. Then after that, we'll go to the Department of Education. Then we'll go to the DHA department. We'll go to the Department of Foreign Affairs. We'll go to the Department of National Treasury and Department of Finance and Resource Mobilization. Now, all this, we are going to go ahead and ask them to tell us the moral values that they have for the people of Ambazonia. Ambazonia shall be great again by God's grace and mercy. We will live fulfilling lives in our nation. And this is the key. Ethics is the key. Now, I just recap all this so that we can now go ahead, and I'm going to give you both the microphone. You just go ahead and tell us completely what you are doing when it comes to ethics in your department. So I always go with my
No,
patience,
I will
but
go
let me go with
first. I will go first. My
Rachel.
patients will go first. I will
Eh?
go first. Commando, this is my patients.
That's my
Okay?
patience.
Yes, I will go first.
Okay, my patience will go first. Right. Go ahead.
Yes. So the way Ma Rachel and I decided to talk about this is that I'm going to address the historical perspective of women issues, and then she's going to come and talk about how it relates to Africa and ASSC 2 and ASSC 1 and 2, and then we'll delve into our department itself, and then discuss other ethical issues from there. So, and then feel free to ask us questions, of course. So I want to begin by looking into the history of International Women's Day and the important women conferences that have led to the integration of women in the socio-political framework of governments all over the world. International Women's Day was first observed in the early 1900s. women had been oppressed for several years. And because of that, they decided to become vocal by campaigning against what was happening to them. So in 1908, 15,000 women marched in New York City demanding shorter hours and better pay and voting rights. In 1909, the first National Women's Day was observed uh, across the United States. In 1910, a second international conference of working women was held in Copenhagen, and Clara Zetkin, the leader of Working Women's Office from the Social Democratic Party in Germany, tabled the idea of International Women's Day. Subsequently, 100 women from 17 countries met and unanimously approved that International Women's Day be held once every year. And so in 1911, they held the first one after this meeting. From 1913 to 1914, March 8th was agreed to be the day to observe International Women's Day. In 1977, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming United Nations Day for Human Rights and International Peace Day. And also in that year, 1975, for the first time, the United Nations started celebrating International Women's Day. From then through to 2000, the new millennium, International Women's Day was not as popular as because the feminism right was becoming very popular. People were not very interested in feminism. 2001, the International Women's Day.com platform was launched to re-energize International Women's Day. And since then, we've observed this day every year. In addition to International Women's Day, there has been 4 major conferences surrounding women. And the reason I'm giving all this history, because it all goes to why why you need a Department of Women's Services and what ethical issues can plague such a department if you don't have the right foundations. So in 1975, the World Conference of the International Women's Year was held in Mexico City from June 2nd to the 19th. And this was a very important conference to set the pace for thinking about women in terms of equality in workplace. So it was centered on equality of women and their contributions to the development of peace and development of nation. In 1980, the World Conference of the United Nations declared for women equality, development, and peace, held another campaign in Copenhagen from July 14th to the 13th, and that was in 1980. In 1985, the World Conference to review the appraisal and achievement of the United Nations Decade of Women, Equality Development was held in Nairobi. And the last conference, which is very popular, that brought about the Beijing Declaration, was held in 1995 in Beijing, of course. And that conference came up with a declaration to adopt unanimous decisions that will affect women in terms of work, gender equality, and work-based empowerment. So it's to this backdrop that I bring this historical perspective, and this overview has led to the Department of Women's Services coming up with policies, which I will address later on. At this point, I would like Ma Rachel to talk about this very issue in terms of Africa, and also in terms of Ambazonia itself in the preliminary stages. Over to you, Ma Rachel.
Thank you very much, Ma Patience. Thank you very much, fellow viewers, and thank you to have me again. Yes, this is a very, it is going to be a little bit different because different from what the counties and the LGS have been doing, because the women's department is the women are comprised of a global factor. They are a global resource to every community, and the foundations that have been laid since the beginning of time to empower women, to sensitize women, and to make the world see the woman from what the world really wants, the where the world wants to place the woman is a little bit tricky. It's tricky here. This is the more reason why we go to history to let our people know that the women's department in Amazonia, or what we are talking today, is not just a mistake. I'm equally going to run down some historical facts, some research facts coming from magazines and podcasts and all some media outlets that has given us this opportunity to come out. Like, I would just want to start with the fact that the equality of the fundamental rights between women and men is not yet a reality, regardless of the region, regardless in any region of the world. There is no region of the world that has really placed the woman. It is a work in progress. That's why you see so many conferences still going on, and even with us in Amazonia. But one thing is sure, that when the people decide to work and change their mentality, how they see the woman, everything is going to work. The ethics of whatever they are looking at will fall in place. It is also said that during the fifth anniversary, um, um, the fifth anniversary of the creation of the Pan-African Women Association, UNESCO Director General from 2009 to 2017 declared that the women are the driving force behind small changes of critical importance to their societies and communities. They are advancing the equality of education and access to health care. These are some of the things that the woman, the African woman in general, is still fighting, is still advancing. Though some other countries, like the developed countries, have achieved some percentages, the African woman, which the Amazonian woman is equally not left out, is also fighting to access these two things, education and healthcare. They are fighting for their rights and their active participation in political life, and they are promoting peace, reconciliation, justice, and development. Women are essential to a country's or a continent's development, and yet they face a great deal of discrimination and violence because of their gender. This is what the woman faces. So even if we are talking of ethics in Amazonia, the women's department itself cannot be able to sustain all the values if the community, the country itself, will not work hand in hand to see that what we are outlining here should fall in place. They say the African woman suffers most from gender inequality and marginalization. Yes, the Amazonian woman is not left out. What are the solutions of gender inequality against the girl child and the woman? Significant progress towards gender equality and women's empowerment um, in West Africa is at a critical level. You will look at it looking if we take some of the social aspects, the social discrimination and inequality, we will realize that in social aspects, women experience different forms of violence because of their gender in the social field, domination by their spouse. There is an article that was given. The I decided to take from the article 444 of the Congo Family Code, which states that the husband is the head of the household. He owes protection to his wife. his wife owes obedience to her husband. In this case, you see that the marriage is discriminatory to the woman, which means that everything the man says, the woman is not even supposed to even say no. She have a voice. Total obedience. That is a code that has been set, given by another country. But look at it. What Ambazonia is looking at. Ambazonia will not, or the women's department, the groundwork we are laying, will not let the Ambazonian woman go through this stress. The woman will share, for example, in marriage, equal rights. Some people will be looking at me and be saying that how come that you are saying that women will share the equal rights? Yes, it is a mental thing. If you begin to think that before I want to build a house, I'll sit my wife down, we'll discuss it. If I want to do something, I will share it with my wife. Then you will know that marriage is partnership. It's just like your private business. You don't take decisions without consulting the partner with whom you share that platform. It is the same thing. But in another sense, it is said that in order to mitigate this discriminatory law that is in that Article 444, there's the Article 16 of the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against the Woman, requires states to set a minimum for example, in marriage. If you look at it, a young girl is always given to marriage to old men, to older men. They don't even know. We may say that we are civilized in Amazonia, we are civilized in our country, we don't give young girls in marriage, but it's a call for concern. Some families still secretly practice them. Some families still secretly do those things. Within Amazonia, some culture, they still do them. If you don't experience it, there are some that are experiencing, and you see those young girls go to that marriage, and this is how they suffer. So there says some report states that about 20 countries in Africa, um, um, their civil code do not respect this obligation, this elimination, this convention on the elimination of all forms of discrimination. Because you give a young girl at 12, at 8, at 9, at 15, already in marriage to somebody, the child does not know. You know, these are some of the things that we are saying in the Amazonia that we are working at. We will look at all these communities, all these things will be exposed so that the girl child or the woman should be able to have a say when it comes to major decisions in their life. They say in West Africa, 44% of women aged 20 to 24 were married before the ages of 15, according to UNICEF. And 2 out of 3 are, are married to, to men that they do not know. So they say this as a result, it is because of some of the social norms and traditions to marry someone's daughter. No, it is all this tradition, norms. Where do you put the fundamental rights of a human being because of some of the traditions that we have caved for ourselves? By so doing, we are going to see facts that we are going to, the Women's Department is going to examine the fact whether norms and traditions are going to really override uh, um, um, rights, human rights, a woman's right, rights to the woman's body and her decision. By so doing, there's also this stigmatization that is with the woman in the social sphere, where they say, for example, having a child out of wedlock. Some people will say, picking, they don't just the bonbon picking the now, picking the born picking anyhow. So that one not be shame again. But then in some places, when you see a girl child already having a child out of wedlock, they will be terming you like an outcast. If you do not experience it, it doesn't mean that it is not operational. It is very operational because when a young girl goes ahead and have a child, they'll be telling you, uh, you be used cargo. This is a psychological trauma that they are already giving to a girl child and positioning her in a place. And most times the girl's education is interrupted. The child can no longer feel secure. The brothers or the uncles will be toasting her here and there because of one or two reasons. But what is the women's department going to do? We are going to see that even though we will not be advocating that girls should find themselves in this difficult condition at a young age or before marriage, but we will try our best to ensure that even when such a things happen, the girl child will not be looked low upon. It will not be looked low upon. Um, um, the Amazonian girl child, they will be protected. We will laws will be put in place that the girl child shall be protected. There will be centers for education for adolescent girls, and our school curriculums shall incorporate these factors as well, that the child will not be abandoned, and there will be sessions where situations where even after the child, I would certainly say that there will be social welfare that will be provided for such a child. Maybe the child, there will be faces for free adoption, or we will know what could be done in such a situation. But to jeopardize the life and the social growth of the young mother and the child by stigmatizing them as outcasts, it will not be in the place of the Amazonia that we are looking for. We know that some people will say, how are you going to control it? But when a human being, when we want something, we work towards it and we get it. And the Amazonia we are working towards is going to be that one that those moral values, nobody will be looked down as an outcast or be insulted. Of course, there will equally be laws that when all those despicable things that people say when something has happened to somebody, people start saying what they want to say. We are going to make sure that we work towards this and let people feel socially secured. Healthcare and social welfare will be provided for such and in such cases. So sometimes they say the girl child will not go to school because she has because she's pregnant, she's giving birth. Yeah, there'll be free adoption, the child support, which we all most people enjoy in the Western world, the child support. There's this thing. I know that Amazonia has the resources that we will be able to take one on one and look at these cases. Of course, we do need the children, most especially now that we will be going to a post-war Amazonia and nation building. He said the girl child will be encouraged as the boy child to be at school, as to cover up the 7 points gap as of the World Bank report that says 97% to 92. You see, it says education to the girl child will be a predominant concern in Amazonia, considering the setback the war has caused us, our people. Our girl child will have the potential to be developed so that they can manage their own, they'll be able to manage their own resources. They'll be able to manage their affairs and be equally in the economic and political spheres. Nothing is going to, World Bank has already said it, that the African woman is being, the girl child is being cheated in one way or the other, not being sent to school. I know some people will say, yes, we are all girls, our father sent us to school, but that is the case in your own individual household. About 72% of all other cases is not as yours. So these are the small details that we are going to pick them and make sure that Amazonia stands on a platform to give a moral value to their own people. And by so doing, the woman will be economically empowered. Because if you look at it now in the world, women are discriminated economically, and many are still not free. They cannot empower themselves. There are many obstacles to women's participation in the economic affairs. If you look at it critically, most women in the rural areas, what do they do? They are based with local agricultural businesses, or buy and sell them, or all those things. And mainly because of the difference between the man and the woman. Some things they will say the woman will not go and do this, the man should, it is for the man. You take in your compound, they say women cannot have livestock, women cannot have goats, they cannot have pigs, they cannot have cow. You can't keep those things. Just go and plant your njama and be taken care of. And if you look at it critically, how much will njama and pepper and okra and cassava give compared to this? Woman does not have coffee, woman does not have cocoa farm. So all these things, these are laws will be put in the Amazonia that um, a woman and a girl child is capable enough and should be apportioned some of these rights so that the economic power or the potency should be balanced. This is why I say women represent 70% of the active population in the agricultural sector. They still remain at the bottom of this, despite the fact that they work very hard and in difficult conditions. The mother will go very far just to go and get a bunch of plantains. How much? But then, this is why the UNDP report states that the total annual economic loss caused by the gender gap in sub-Saharan Africa um, is about 105 billion. This record came between 2010 and 2014. Sub-Saharan Africa, Amazonia is in this sub-African. So if we are looking at the Amazonia that we are vying for, we'll begin to think how we are going to subsidize the farming that women do, the importance that we are going to lay on the crops that the woman, where they say this one a woman in crop, this one a woman in business, so that the Amazonia should not lose out of this billion, because it is reported that because of this disparity between the man and the woman, this major population of women who make up about 50 to 60% of the world, um, we lost this power because we undermine the woman and we don't give them the opportunity to also excel or to show what they can do. This shows that Africa is losing or missing out of its full grown potential because a considerable portion of its growth pool, women, are not incorporated in state development. Amazonians shall ameliorate itself by using, they will ameliorate this. We already know, that's why we go and get the details, so that our morals, our ethics will let us understand that we have to let the woman and the girl child function in the same capacity. We go further to say it is also recorded that women than men are vulnerable employment and work mostly in informal sector. Most of the times, women, most working class women or women who've gone to school, like some of us, we say, no, 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 but I know the do I dey work for high position. I don't know, but now you one. If you look in your community or your small quarter where you come out from your village, or you look in your small local government area where you come from, how many women are in the same position like you? What are you doing? So these are the things that we are going to see, that if we want to call out whatever thing any woman is doing, it will be taken into perspective, it will be taken into consideration, so that we are not left out. The woman is not left out. Amazonia, we should be keeping these figures. You should know that don't look at only yourself, look at the community where we come from. The
Mhm.
reports in 2010 equally say 65.4% of non-agricultural jobs in the informal sector are held by women with lack of social protection, making them very vulnerable. No social security, nobody records the farm, there is no cooperative, there is no how yeah there used to be marketing board. There is no system that really registers women all over. But Amazonians, we are saying that because of the moral values, the ethical values that we will place on what everybody does to be taken account and be recorded in our GDP, you are going to see that whether you are selling okra, you'll be able to be accountable for, you'll be able to pay your taxes, because um, the economic section is going to know how to place values upon whatever goods and products that we will be having, so that this gap this gap that the world or sub um, Saharan countries are facing, Amazonia will not be left. We not learn from other people's mistakes. So we, as an emerging nation, we are going to learn from some of these things. And it says the Amazonian Women's Department shall ensure that all working sectors be covered through social insurance policy or otherwise. We are going to work in collaboration with the finance department. We are going to work in collaboration with all the forces and the rooms that we see that the woman and the girl child is not left out in what they are doing. And in their politics, we see that when it comes to political equalities, the situation is not different for most of them. Look at it critically. They say 24% of seats in national parliament were held by women. However, since the year 2000, the figures have changed from 12% to 19% in 2010. Women are barely under represented in ministries and other legislative and executive bodies all over the world. It is not only in Africa, it's all over the world. But then we are not giving up. And the nation comes out and sets the pace and sets the example. This is why you see some countries do stand out with women in the sector. Look at Rwanda. Rwanda's government has more than it has 61.3% in their parliament. They have 63.1% women. Women are in that parliament in Rwanda. That is a pace setter. In Ethiopia, you have 47.6% of women representatives in their government. Mozambique is the first country to have the first country to have um, yeah, I mixed up there. Yeah. Even as most countries are recording micro advances with the women's participation and representation in the government, Ambazonia will be an example. I know that Amazonia will not be left out. The moral codes that this women department, the platform that we are already laying, we may not read everything here today, but we pray that by the time we'll be getting there, the Amazonian woman will one day say, yes, thank you for my four mothers who stood up for us. And this is why we say, we also see that as we record the first woman, if you look at our house, if you look at all around, we Amazonia, this 55th new nation, is that nation that has its first house speaker to be the woman, and several other women in positions, remarkable, honorable positions in the government. And I want to say that by the time we are born with emergency, this nation, the ethical code will be that we will beat Rwanda the way we will beat Rwanda to have about 80% representation. Men, don't tell me that I'm just joking. Brothers, fathers, don't say that. Why is she saying like that? Are they planning to take over us? No, we are not planning to take over. It's just that the girl child, your daughter, your daughter has suddenly known that she can also be part of this nation building, and she wants to help you, daddy and brothers, to build it. That you should maybe rest a little bit, let the sisters come up, and let's see what we can give to you. Pastor Commando, don't laugh too much, because this is just what it is going to be. So we are still in a fight. To solve this social, economic, and political inequalities demands a change of mentality. Really, we need change of mentality. You may be laughing like that. You have not changed your mentality. Start changing your mentality. Everyone should start changing their mentality. Say, why is marriage here? Why are they coming to say this? Yes, if until we change our mentality to say, yes, but I went to medical schools, the girls were there.
Rachel, I don't know how much
They
time
did
we
this.
have. How much time do we have on
Yeah,
the show, Mr. Commando?
No, we actually have time. We actually have time. I think
yeah.
we can just go on and go on and go on. But
Okay. So
what I'm laughing
I have
at,
Yeah,
to,
let me.
Mara,
I am
yeah.
just.
Okay.
I am just on the last statement to
Uh,
say to
okay.
achieve this, the whole society must become aware of the
Mm,
importance of valuing the status of women. They should, the whole society should come to the importance of valuing the status of women and question their practices against women. Because when they say the woman is a weaker sex, but they equally say what a man can do, a woman can do it and even do it better. So some of the references came from UNESCO, from UNICEF, from the support communities in the UNDP report and everything. So they are not just my own ideas, though we developed them in reference to our small portion that we have. And as I'm still going to just use the last 5 minutes to say, the Department of Women's Services that was born in 2019 in our first ASSC 2 in Berlin, ASSC 1 in Berlin, um, has done a lot. If many women are listening to me, we've done micro projects all across the west coast of Africa where we have our women scattered. Yes, we have not been able to reach every woman that we would have loved to. The resources are still very limited. And without any excuse or as an advantage to say we couldn't, we all know what our monies have been stuck somewhere, blocked somewhere, but we are getting there. That is why we are appealing that anytime you are called up to support an effort in the women's department, please do so because this goes towards projects for women, for the girl child, for the orphans, and what have you. And to crown it all up, the women's department for the Federal Republic of Ambazonia was inscribed in the Ambazonian Constitution during the ASSC 2 that recently took place in Washington, D.C. in March 2022. So there are a lot of things that we are doing. And if it comes to the structure, how the Women Department sees itself to be structured, we will work from federal level to regional levels to county levels to LGA levels and and right down to the grassroots to village level to make sure that every woman is represented. And so we'll be working from bottom up. And as of the fine ethical principles that we are going to insert, we are going to outline for our men and our women within Amazonia. I believe that in the due course we are going to be discussing them. But as of now, let's begin to think how Amazonia will work in respect from the world to Africa and to its specifics as a nation, as Amazonia, so that the fine values that we have out there that we have already had in all the other visitations from LGS and county know that the women's department is not an exception when it comes to human resources, to sponsoring programs and all those things. We are going to have them and put them in place. I will just yield for now, and if there's any other thing, I will equally come in to give the fine details. Thank you very much, Pastor Commando, and my patience.
Before my
Thank
patience
you.
comes in, my patient, can I just say a word
Yes,
before you come in, please?
certainly.
Yes, I was laughing profoundly and profusely because Ma Rachel was touching on some areas that are appealing to some men. But one man wrote a comment here, which I want to read. I've not been reading comments, but when I saw this comment, I said, no, I'm going to read this comment. He says that man was made to suffer and the woman was made to feel the pain. So it made me laugh aloud. And what I think Rachel is saying is very great. Ambazonia will beat Rwanda. I am an advocate for women, for your information. So when I hear women talking, that's why I am really appealing to the two of you. Please get me a lady, a woman who will join me in history to tell the history of Amazonia. Because if you are just talking about some of these ethical things and we don't have an Ambazonian woman who can talk about the history of Amazonia, then I think that we will cut you short in some of the things that you are going out for. So we'll cut the woman short when it comes to the history. So as the time goes on, we are building, we would like to have a woman come in and then tell us, talk to us about our history. Meanwhile, somebody said, and I support and I believe in it, the woman is not less than a man, in the sense that they are made equal before the Almighty God. But the point is, God just chose the man to be the captain. Just like in every society, when you put two captains to pilot the flight without the chief captain, there will be confusion. And so the woman is not in any way less than a man, like a number of people have been trying to stipulate or speculate. A woman is not less than a man. It's just those who don't know our origin, who believe that man is a higher mammal, of which I don't agree. Man is not a mammal. Man is not an animal. Man is created in the image of God, and God made them male and female. So, Ma Rachel, thank you very much. We cross over to Ma Patience now to go ahead and then give us your take as we plan for these ethical values and growth in our social women and social department of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Now, women touch all the counties. So when you are saying anything out of the counties, I agree with you 100%, because women are coming from all the counties, and you should talk globally for all the counties. Over to you, ma.
Thank you. The expansive portrayal of what our department will look like. I just want to give some specifics in terms of the background. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights, some of these articles are important to incorporate when we talk about ethics. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. That's number one, Article 1 of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. Article 2 says that everyone is entitled to the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political, or other opinion, national and social origin, property, birth, and other status. So really we're focusing on sex, male or female. We are all equal. And Pastor Commando, to support what you just said, there's another saying that the man is the head and the woman is the neck. And if you think about that, the man being the head and the woman being the neck, then the woman somehow probably has more power over the man, because the head goes wherever the neck turns. But I digressed. Article 1, there was another thing that was very important in terms of laying policies for departments. There's this very important United Nations Human Rights Convention on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, called CEDAW, that was entered into force in September 3, 1981. So I'll briefly read it because it's very important. Then I'll go to the blueprint of the Department of Women's Services. So this article states that state parties shall take all appropriate measures to eliminate discrimination against women in the field of employment in order to ensure, on a basis of equality of men and women, the same rights, in particular, the right to work as an inalienable right of all human beings. B, the right to the same employment opportunities, including the application of the same criteria for selection in matters of employment. And this, I'm going to expound on this when we start talking about gender mainstreaming and ethics. C, the right to free choice of profession and employment. the right to promote job security and all benefits and conditions of services, and the right to receive vocational training and retraining, including apprenticeship, advanced vocational training, and recurring training. D, the right to equal remuneration, including benefits, and to equal treatment in respect to work of equal value, as well as equality of treatment in the evaluation of the quality of work. And this is a problem because even in the United States, you have the case that men, for the same work that is done by a man and a woman, the man gets paid more than the woman. So the man may get paid $1, the woman gets paid 71 cents. The right to social security, particularly in cases of retirement, unemployment, sickness, invalidity, and old age, and other incapacity to work, as well as the right to paid leave. The right to protection of health and to safety in working conditions, including the safeguarding of the function of reproduction. In order to prevent discrimination against women on the grounds of marriage or maternity, and to ensure their effective right to work, state parties shall take appropriate measures to prohibit subjects to the imposition of sanctions, dismissals on the grounds of pregnancy or maternity leave, and discrimination in dismissals on the basis of marital status. To introduce maternal leave with pay or with comparable social benefits without loss of former employment, seniority, and social allowances. And C, to encourage the provision of the necessary supporting social services to enable parents to combine family obligations with work responsibilities and participation in public life, in particular through promoting the establishment and development of a network of childcare facilities. D, to provide special protection to women during pregnancy in types of work proved to be harmful to them. And finally, protective legislation relating to matters covered in this article shall be reviewed periodically in the light of scientific and technological knowledge and be revised to appeal and shall be revised, repealed, or extended as necessary. So these are points in the United Nations Rights Convention of the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. So when they are doing things and specifying women, it all goes back to the history because most societies are patriarchal in nature, where the man, as Pastor Commander said, are always the leaders. In most organizations, you have men as the leaders. In most job setting, you have men as the leaders. But we are hoping that Ambazonia will be one that will see the man and the woman as equal and look them based on their expertise and their knowledge and what they can bring on the table. So with that said, I just want to read briefly which I'm sure you've heard over and over on this show, a simple definition of ethics. Ethics, also called moral philosophy, is the discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad and morally right and wrong. So the blueprints of the Department of Women's Services of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, based on everything we've heard, has a vision and a mission. So the vision is to appreciate and embrace a nation where the welfare and socioeconomic potential of women are nurtured and gender equality is promoted. When people hear the phrase gender equality, some men that are chauvinistic may not like that expression, but we're hoping are liberal, educated, and should welcome the idea that in general, if a woman is willing to do what a man does and is able to do it, then she should be appreciated for that. The mission is to build a nation with women included in the socioeconomic powerhouse, free of gender bias, ensuring gender equality. So when we have this mission and vision, then ethics is very important, because there will be times that the lines are crossed, and we follow the ethical guidelines that we have to make sure that perpetrators are put to book or to order. So the Department of Women's Service is a government department responsible for the welfare of women in Ambazonia. It will promote the development of women with equal rights and corresponding responsibilities. The main objectives will include stimulating actions to promote civic, political, social, and economic participation of women, coordinating and monitoring women's programs, providing technical and financial support to women NGOs. It will also review substantive and procedural laws that affect women, which is what I just said. Because if there's a law out there in Ambazonia that is discriminatory inadvertently towards women, the department will have to look into it and make correct proceedings to correct it. The department will also provide literacy and health programs for women and children. Some key areas of focus, especially for women and children, will be to eliminate stigma and discrimination, especially when it comes to those who have disabilities. To set up strategic advocacy projects to combat social challenges and stigma and stereotypes. Inclusive education, again, especially for women and those and children with disability. And we've already talked about economic empowerment to strengthen women in programs that will promote them economically, so that the woman can be able to take care of their own affairs. Now, I'm going to move over to hone on how ethics plays a part in all of this. I'm going to talk on two things, and Rachel will talk on two things. I just want to say that the women's department, based on the blueprint that we have, focus on four main areas: gender mainstreaming, empowerment, gender-based violence, which Rachel has alluded to some of them, and governance. When we talk about gender mainstreaming, first of all, what is gender mainstreaming? I want to briefly define what gender mainstreaming is. It is a strategy to improve the quality of public policies, programs, and projects, ensuring a more efficient allocation of resources. Better results mean increased well-being for both men and women, and the creation of a more socially just and sustainable society. So that's the brief meaning of gender mainstreaming. So how does that apply to ethics? Ethically, if we have situations where somebody is not following gender mainstreaming properly, and you have cases where a woman cannot be employed because she's a woman, even though she's qualified, or if she's employed, things are done in her job to frustrate her so that she has to leave. These are all ethical issues that we are hoping that where standards will be put, policies will be put in place, so that the woman has the right to reach out to a body that will examine her case and stop whatever unjust process is being put on her. gender mainstreaming also gives women the right to be able to stand toe to toe, in the sense that not saying that they are equal to men. We know that men physically are the stronger sex, but in terms of intelligence or technical knowledge, so that our Amazonian women will not be afraid. If they have this education in schools, we start teaching our children that whatever a boy child can do, a girl child can do. Then as they grow, the sons, our sons, start embracing their sisters or the women in their lives as equals. So it starts from that very foundation. But if you train a child to feel that the boys or the men are superior to women, then you create a society where, in the long run, when it comes to them fulfilling their passion in life, the man will always be taken superior over the woman. I would want it to be a case where, if two people were applying for a job and they go to, let's say they're applying to be a pilot, let's use that example, and the man is qualified and the woman is more qualified, the man should not be taken over the woman simply because he's a man. The woman should be able to be given that job. If the woman is less qualified, of course, the job should go to the man. We don't want a case where you'll do bias based on the fact that you just want to employ a woman, even though the man is qualified. So these are all things that have to do with gender mainstreaming and ethics. In terms of empowerment, we already said that ensuring that women control their economic future through financial opportunities and access is very important. In terms of the Amazonia we are fighting for, we want to teach the men in our country that they should be proud of women that are able to bring, let's say, money more than the husband. In the United States of America, you have a lot of household where the main breadwinner is the woman. And sometimes you have cases where the husband stays home and prepares the meal. It should be something that we train our Amazonian families to not find as a taboo. If the woman, for whatever reason, God has given her the brains and the knowledge to be able to excel more than the person that she finally has as a life partner, don't deprive her of those potentials simply because she's a woman. And that's what we're talking about: empowering every girl, child, every woman to be able to live to the best potential that God has given them. And you talk about ethics, Dr. Commando talked about it earlier. You're talking about doing the right thing. You're talking about being honest. You're talking about being moral. You're talking about being principled, courageous. All those attributes help in the field when you want to find out if people have the values or the character or the integrity to be able to respond to situations that are not not right. People in this environment should be able to blow the whistle. In corporate America, you have in different businesses where you have people blowing the whistle because maybe a woman is maltreated or not regarded in high esteem. We should embrace all that. And so without going much further, I'm going to stop here for Ma Rachel to add one or two things. Thank you.
Yeah, before Ma Rachel comes in, I would just want to announce to us that we have 16 minutes more to call it off in this program. And I have a questionnaire for the two of you before we call it quit. So if Ma Rachel should go in and give us a summary and get ready for the questionnaire, we will very much appreciate your contributions and your lessons for this particular subject matter. Over to you, Ma Patience. I mean, Rachel, sorry.
Unmuted.
I'm still trying to make the mistake.
You're muted.
Yeah, thank you again, Pastor Commando. This is just to sum everything up that we have said. I just want to allude to a very pertinent situation that everybody used to say, "Oh, I love this country. We can take from the style of governance and everything." You know, in 2015, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, he formed the first gender balanced cabinet, and within that time up to now, the country used to be the 20th position in the world. But because of the women in cabinet, that equity and diversity and inclusion was the theme behind his decision for making theme behind his decision for building such a government and a cabinet. And another motto behind it was more women in power, less death. So because then with women in power, there was promotion, population health promotion. The population grew healthy at work. All this mobbing, all this attack at work, insults of women, discrimination, and everything. With women in the cabinet and in different positions, they were able to stretch out their hands and reach almost all of the government parastatals. And the well-being, people were healthier coming to work. Husbands were healthier coming to work because women were also happy at home and at work. So there is the representation and there is the magical click to say that where women are taking some decisions, it always works well. So the appeal is that it is not that the women wants to override the men in Amazonia, but if you and I come to agreement to say this is how we will want our country to function, irrespective of, regardless of, nobody is taking the man's position, no day, no time. A man is a man, a woman is a woman, but there are some socio economical, political things that if we all agree and we stand by the law of equity and justice, then we will all build a healthier nation, a very healthy nation for everyone. So thank you.
Oh, that's it. Thank you very much for being that brief. Um, I want to say that um, there is a notion out there about women, and nobody can change that notion apart from the women themselves. And so we are believing that Ambazonia is standing out, is standing out. Don't mind this, I don't know what name to call them. My Secretary of State, my boss calls them idiots, which means they are self-centered. Everything is only around them and them and them and them and them. I never actually knew the meaning of idiot, but when I got it from him, I became very, very apprehensive. So somebody comes up and says that Amazonia is abstract. The independence of Amazonia is abstract. And the following day, he gets up again to say that the capital of Amazonia is moved from here to there. Meanwhile, that Amazonia and the independence is abstract. How do you rate that kind of a language? Now, ethically speaking, it's not what we are in for. Anyway, I just brought that one to say that we are anticipating and really believing that the women in our governance will make things very, very plausible, especially women that are ethically upright. As you have been saying it, I do not want to go into any much comment. But what I want to find out from you, if you permit me, we'll go into our questionnaire now. This is the questions we ask everybody that comes into talk about the ethical, laying the foundation for their ethical department. And you, from the from the Women and Social Department of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, we want to also throw these questions to you. Number one, do you have or do you intend to have an ethics committee in your department? Do you have or do you intend to have an ethics committee in your department?
Um,
Patience. Yeah,
Currently,
go ahead.
we do not have an ethics committee. We do not have
Member.
an ethics we do not have
Okay.
an ethics committee in our department. However,
Okay.
in building the policies that we're still working on, we'll have some moral guidelines. There's a slight difference between ethics and morality. So we'll have some moral guidelines, which is basically what helps prevent certain things from taking place.
Okay. Now, question number two that we normally ask is: do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Code of Ethics in your department?
Well, that is no. We
Yeah.
have the constitution.
Yeah. The Constitution is question number four, but then there is a code of conduct, a code of ethics. Sorry, a code of ethics that we actually, the ethics department, the ethics commission has actually put it down for all the counties, LGAs, and departments to actually have in order to be able to. Do you have that yet? Not yet.
No, we don't.
All right. Okay. The next question we want to find out from you is if you have, okay, you say you don't have an ethics committee, so you definitely does not have an ethics representative in the ethics commission, in the in enlarged ethics commission. That one, I
No.
don't need to ask that because your first answer is a proof. Now, the next one was to ask the question which you have just answered. Do you have a copy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Amazonia? You've already
Yes, we
answered that.
do.
You can go ahead.
Yes,
Oh, you do have that.
we have a copy of the constitution. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I think with that, we have 8 more minutes. If you have any other thing that you can add to what you have all spoken, then we'll call it quit for today. The microphone is all
Yeah.
yours.
Okay. I just wanted to add something, a couple of things, in the sense that when we talked about planning our what the department would look like, we mentioned about gender mainstreaming empowerment. There were some two other important things that are part of this: gender-based violence and governance. So, gender based violence is protecting the basic human rights of women and girls from physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. This is very, very important. Rachel did explain quite a bit of it, but I just want to make sure that they understand that it's in our policy because there are different types of abuses. There's workplace abuses, and there's also abuse in the home. And there's something that is very common in the Cameroon that we left that people don't talk about it that much. We hope that it's not going to be something that we experience in Amazonia. And it has to do with incest of family members raping young girls. Uh, that is something that we have to start teaching our children and making this department have a special branch for women to feel comfortable or for kids to feel comfortable to come report circumstances where they find themselves, where a father or an uncle or an older brother or relative that is visiting abuses our young girls or boys. Um, this is extremely important, and everything starts with education. And one thing also, in terms of workplace violence, physical abuse, we know a lot of cases where people really use their fist to slap or kick or or hit somebody. We will be frowning on that extremely, and we're hoping that working with the judiciary system, those people will be booked accordingly. And then in terms of governance, it has to do with presence in diverse public sectors as leaders in building strong political representative and decision-making system. So women should be found or should be expected to thrive in every sector in our Amazonia, uh, both private and public, and all the arms of government. Women should be welcomed. Um, it's not a matter of the man giving the woman permission to do something. It's a matter of thinking about the articles in the United Nations declarations that say we are all equal, and that uh, whatever a man can do, a woman can do, and that it should not be something that men should despise, but they should be very, very much embrace. They should very much embrace that concept. So I end here and thank the department, the ethics department, for inviting us for this topic, um, ethics in an emerging nation. And one more thing that I remember, this may be just something in general. It's going to be very important to educate our people back home. And this education has started now. Let me give you an example. Right now, you have people, you want to leave one town, and I'm probably diverting from the women's department, but it's something that is important, and it may go across all departments. If you have
Now,
somebody,
okay, let me come in with something before we give a general announcement. Before we, let's
let
not,
me just finish a point
sorry.
I was making. Let me just finish this point. You have somebody leaving one town to another town, and there are stop signs where they are collecting bribes. We need to start teaching our people somehow that that is wrong, so that it will start from the head, go down to the bottom. So in all the facets that we have in Amazonia, education, it will be the key for this ethical Amazonia that we're building. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
before we will finally close, I just want to say that the women's department have really been working very hard, and we've been writing letters. There is a letter that we sent into the defunct Restoration Council, and we would like to appeal that this letter should be brought up and be read and be worked upon. I want to look at it in the sense that more women are now sitting in the interim House of Representatives, and we have a woman sitting at the helm of the interim House of Representatives at this time. It is a call for concern. The moment we start doing things as we are still in the making of our nation, some of these things should be discussed in the interim house so that people start getting acquainted with them. They start getting versed with them. So when we are talking them, when our nation is here, it will not be as if they are trying to push a bitter pill down the throat to the people. And also to say that by the time we'll be doing some kind of constitutional amendment, some of these laws should already be written in our constitution. The interim house should start discussing them and passing them as bills, sending them to the executive so that it could be signed like some some laws so that people begin to get used to it. Please, because what you don't start when you are young, to get old, when you get old, it will be difficult. So by the time we start knowing them that we are up to this is what we want to have in an emerging nation. When we emerge at that nation, then we will know what to do. Interim House, please, I call upon you. The Women's Department call upon you. We have that letter. We will certainly still send it to you so that we took time to work on that letter. So we will certainly send it again to you, and every House of Representative listening to me from your LGA, please ask during your session that during the Ethics Commission, the women appeal that they'll be sending a letter. Look up to it if that letter has come, so that we will know what is accepted as law or what is tolerable in Ambazonia or not. So we can also take them to our LGA, so we flow from bottom up. So that was just what I want to say. Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor Commando, for having us here to speak on our emerging nation. We could talk to you tomorrow because there are so many things to be put in place
I
on what
know.
we wish to say. Yeah.
I know the two of
Thank you
you.
very much.
I know the two of you. Thank you very much for accepting this call to come and educate our people on the services and especially on this aspect of ethics in your department. And we've listened to the lectures and what you have said. We are looking forward to having the action being carried out even while we are still in this transit period. Just like the last statement you have made, when you are young, I don't change some certain attitudes. At the end of the day, when you become an adult, those attitudes, when they try to change them, you'll be broken. You'll not be able to do it. So right now, while we are still planning and building our nation, we are sounding this to everyone. What Ma Patience, Rachel has just said.
Marasha,
That about concerning the bribery and corruption posts that are in the country,
the map,
in the southern Cameroons in those days, it was not there until this corruption came in. So we have restored the southern days. I mean, the days of the former British southern Cameroons, and we are getting right back to those days where all these values are going to be put in place. And I want to thank all of you for coming in and making it very clear that in the developing nation in which we are, women have a big role to play. Men have been very scared of women in the past years because women were given a very bad name to be, they make a lot of trouble. But today we are discovering that these particular women, when they sit down with their cool heads, they are able to really arrange things and put them in place. And sometimes I tell people, look at the way the woman organizes her house. Then if you give her the opportunity, she can organize us in our political and other systems that we are going into. Once again, the Ethics Commission and the chair lady for the Ethics Commission wants to thank your department for coming in to make this one very clear to our people. And on that note, we tell the Ambazonian people till next week, stay tuned to ABC, and don't forget, tomorrow is the beginning of beginnings, the day of the draft that is starting off for this year 2022. I would like to see you there in Mezam County to support the draft that is beginning tomorrow. God bless you and have a wonderful evening, wonderful morning, wonderful afternoon, whatever time you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you prepared? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as the moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA, and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your department?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.